and started to enact a sort of exercise with his eyelids, drooping them slowly, opening them wide, drooping again, widening them completely, and then shutting them tight. The apparently immovable Madame Brochon twisted her skirt in her fingers, shifted her considerable weight from left leg to right. When she resumed her speech, it was to the accompaniment of his reedy whistle, tuneless and insistent. She should get on fine. There's everything needed in the pantry for at least the next few days, and I'm sure she'll not object to the simple things I've put there. There may not be anything fancy, but I'm sure she'll find the quality can't be faulted. This last comment was, as throughout her speech, directed at the old man in the bed and not Marguerite. And so, as Marguerite watched Madame Brochon watched the old man, and the old man watched the wall. Total silence took hold of the place from the moment Madame Brochon left. For the first few days, Marguerite barely exchanged a word with Jerome, taking his silence as her cue. He didn't ask her where she was from, about her background or past experience or suitability for the job. The house was some way from the village, down a forest-lined road that seemed to lead nowhere else. It was many days before Marguerite heard a car pass by, and when it receded, the silence came rushing back to fill its space. She started to explore the house slowly, expanding her radius just a little each day. The floor was stone throughout, and she trod carefully. She didn't like to make much noise. Her own footsteps sounded somehow like an intrusion. The old man's room was on the ground floor, not far from the kitchen. At first, Marguerite spent most of her time in the kitchen, cleaning out cupboards and sitting in an armchair for perhaps hours at a time, staring out into the garden, waiting for him to summon her. As she started to learn the rhythm of his needs, she could afford to spend time exploring the many other rooms. She cleaned them, one by one, taking time to wipe away the blankets of dust over the sinks, the crisp shells of long-dead daddy-long-legs and centipedes in doorways. He didn't sleep well at night, but often during the day. Marguerite, by nature active, but prone to sudden, consuming bouts of somnolence, profited from his naps. Her afternoons often passed by in dull and dreamless slumber, from which depths she would emerge only with great mental and physical effort. She soon learnt to take these long sleeps early, so that the struggle to come back to the world, to her room's bare walls and sparse furniture, was over in time to face the darkness, when it started to descend, with full strength and clarity. She realised quickly that she was afraid of the nights here, in this house that was never visited by anyone, that it was her charge to protect. The dark was as thick and complete as sleep. When Jerome called out or knocked hard on the wooden headboard, sounds that often startled her through the silence, she would go in with a glass of milk or water. At night, he'd stare into the darkness outside the windows before she drew the curtains shut. He might say, "Totally black, completely and utterly black," as if to himself, or, "You wouldn't be able to see the devil if he were standing right outside," tapping his chin with one of his surprisingly beautiful, fine-boned fingers. On one of those evenings, she dropped the tray after placing a glass and small dish of pills by his bed. Its clattering on the stone floor was a shock to the quiet, and he inhaled quickly, gripping the sheets. When the clatter and its echo died, he smacked her arm, pushed the glass aside so roughly that it almost fell too, and turned to face the wall. "I'm sorry," she said, and he swiped the air without turning, gesturing for her to leave. He began to speak more, emerging in bursts from his muteness to chide her for taking too long to respond to his calls, or